Hello and welcome to Kanesidder This. My very special guest today is none other than Master Jeffrey Burleson.
I love it. This is weird without the underlying music that you usually have. I'm not. I mean, we're recording it.
What do you mean? What do you mean? I heard the music. The music just happened.
There it just. The music
just happened. Great. Now I'm going to turn the music up at that moment.
This is my debut. This is my first time in the recording with.
Although backstage story here. Jeffrey was actually lurking in the background of a previous podcast. I will not say which one.
Yes, I was, but I did not.
He just sat back and giggled quietly at us. But yeah, today we're talking about The Boy from Oz, which opened Friday, July 25th at Uptown Players, the Kalita Humphreys Theater. Kalita Humphreys, my favorite venue in town.
It's the first theater when I saw in Dallas. The first theater I saw in Dallas was the Kalita Humphreys Theater.
Oh, really? What was the show?
Equus here.
Equus.
Uptown Players at Equus. Mm-hmm. And I was living in Oklahoma City at the time, and I said, wow, this is amazing, and I want to be a part of this stage. And I moved here about 3 years later.
That's interesting. When I was younger, when I was a kid, I would come and see shows from the Dallas Theater Center done here. And so this was the stage as far as the local stage, aside from Fair Park Music Hall where all the tours came through. So when I was a kid, this was unattainable. This was just professional theater that I couldn't ever imagine myself being on the stage. Yeah. And it was the first stage that I performed on when I moved back to Dallas. Closer to heaven. So I have an affinity for Uptown Players. I think that they're one of the best companies in town, and they are very good to their people, and they put on phenomenal shows. They've really made the Kalita their home.
Oh, yeah.
And next year, the Dallas Theater Center, who has their beautiful theater downtown, is going to be invading the space again. Dallas Theater Center has first refusal on the space.
I did not know that.
And so they're going to be doing some shows back here next year as well as at the Wiley.
Okay.
But to me, I really feel like the Kalita is now Uptown's home and should rightfully be Uptown.
Well, that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever known is
Uptown
at Kalita. So
yeah, maybe
in the future that'll be the way it is.
Well, they've really made this space their own and done some phenomenal productions in here.
Speaking of phenomenal.
Yes. Yes. Well, Boy from Oz, if you don't know Boy from Oz, it is the story of Peter Allen, who was a cabaret nightclub singer, wrote some famous songs that ended up winning Oscars. The Arthur's theme, When You Get Caught Between the Moon and New York City. And Don't Cry Out Loud. And Olivia Newton-John hit I Honestly Love You. So he wrote some songs that were pretty big. He's not as well known as two other characters in the show. Someone named Judy Garland, and I guess her daughter, Liza Minnelli.
Liza with a Z.
The show was originally done in New York as a vehicle for Hugh Jackman. And Peter Allen is Australian, so
Hugh Jackman
also is Australian, and he really. I saw the show in New York, and I really remember Hugh Jackman. That's about it. I remember Hugh Jackman, and I remember a moment in the second act where I almost laughed inappropriately. But we'll get to that later.
Fair enough.
So Uptown has decided to do the regional premiere of the show. And it's a good show for Uptown because it gets to one of their themes, the LGBT sort of thing. And Peter Allen was, at best, bisexual. He was married to Liza Minnelli.
Lucky dog.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that lucky? I don't know. I don't know if that's a blessing or a curse. But he isn't a well-known figure today.
Especially not. I didn't know it. I'm from the other person. I don't know if you'll ever see the show again. You know, it's a show that's so difficult, I think, to find characters to portray these things. Also, who knows what's going on? So, with the way everything's going, so you may never see the show again. That's what I'm saying. I would, if I were you, whoever you are listening on this wonderful podcast, which I'm sure is millions of people.
Absolutely.
You should get to Dallas to see the show because I think this is outside of New York, the North American premiere.
I don't know if any other companies. Like it's definitely not been done in this region before.
You're not going to see it often,
and you're not. There are reasons you're not going to see it very often. it isn't the best script. It's one of those. It's a biography musical. You know, I was thinking of earlier Behind the Candelabra, Liberace, Walk the Line, Johnny Cash. There are tons that are coming out. There's a James Brown movie that's going to be coming out about his life.
But a movie's easier to do.
Yes.
When you have a stage,
Right.
It's very intimate. That's what I loved about this show so much. Just so intimate. The Kalita Humphreys seems small. With the way it's set up, because he's speaking so with the audience so often, and you really get drawn into him. Alex Ross is just magnetic.
Yes, we have to say Alex Ross plays Peter Allen.
Charming. Oh, I should have mentioned
that. No, I should have said that earlier, too.
Oh, just charming.
You're the guest. I'm the one that needs to keep this thing on track.
And playing Liza is the wonderful, talented Sarah Elizabeth Smith.
Yes.
Who we love and cherish. And if it was just those two people, that you would have a fantastic show.
Right.
You wouldn't have anything to worry about.
Well.
But for me...
Yeah.
Judy Garland, played by Janelle Lutz, is I have no reason left to live. I have seen all I need to see. I have seen The Other Side and The Promised Land, and I am done.
I saw Janelle in Soho Cinders, the last show that Uptown did at the Kalita. Mm-hmm. And she played this very upper crust, sort of snooty British woman who ends up, the snooty woman with a heart of gold.
Oh,
who's eventually shows her softer side. And I have to say, I was blown away by her in that production. I thought she was right on, just spot on. She commanded the stage. I could not have thought of anyone who could play that role better. Forget what she did in Soho Cinders, because this show, I'm not... Full disclosure, I don't know much about Peter Allen. I don't remember hearing his voice that much. I'm also not a huge Judy Garland or Liza Minnelli fan. Mm-hmm. To me, Liza Minnelli was on Arrested Development. That's I do know her from other things. Of course, I know her from
Lucille
Cabaret and stuff like that. Lucille Ostero is Liza Minnelli, and I can't imagine her not being that character. Mm-hmm. But there were certain things that Sarah did, their vocal things that she did, that were so dead on, and I don't know how I have to be honest, halfway through the first act, I was second-guessing my knowledge that Sarah Smith was playing Liza Minnelli, because I was looking at her and thinking, that's not Sarah, that's got to be someone else. Mm-hmm. But back to Janelle, no offense, Sarah, but back to Janelle, she looked like she was at least in her 40s. And Janelle is a beautiful young woman. I don't know how old she is, but she
ain't nowhere near that.
No. Mm-hmm. She was definitely playing latter-day Judy Garland. This is not, obviously not Over the Rainbow Judy Garland. No. This is much later. Mm-hmm. And
to a T.
Absolutely.
And just, oh gosh.
Absolutely. Just phenomenal. And in a lot of ways, this show hinges on 3 impressions. I know that's very simplistic. But if you don't have someone who can be Peter Allen, Judy Garland, Liza Minnelli, if you don't have those 3 elements done well, you don't have a show.
No.
And there's no reason to see this show, really, because those 3 characters are the backbone of the show, especially Liza and Peter in the second act. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that Cheryl Denson did very well. They always say that, the majority of success is casting.
Casting it.
And these 3 people were perfect in their roles, I thought. I really did.
And they were helped by wigs and costuming.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Galore. Everyone looked fantastic. Sometimes I couldn't tell which Rockette was real.
I thought some of the Rockettes were a little wooden, I have to be honest. I thought some of the Rockettes came across a little wooden.
But no, I was, every time someone came out, they were fabulous.
Yeah.
It was, and I don't use that word in everyday language, but it is exactly the correct word to say.
It takes place, I believe, fully in the 70s and 80s.
70s, 80s, yeah.
And I'm definitely in the 80s because of the AIDS stuff. But, oops, spoiler. So, the costumes were very, very indicative of that time. And Susie Cranford, I don't know how the woman pulls it out every single time, but Soho Cinder's doing, the stuff from the 80s, or from London. It wasn't the 80s. I'm thinking of Closer to Heaven, which is very similar to Soho Cinder's. Was London in the 80s, and very, very garish and stuff. But there was some garish stuff in Soho Cinder's.
Yeah, there was. It was great.
But, and again, the 70s were nothing if not garish. And the Hawaiian shirts and the silver and gold all over Peter Allen with his shirts tied up in a knot.
Not nearly so much gold to me as I thought there was going to be.
There wasn't.
But it was tasteful.
Well, here's the deal. Because I don't know Peter Allen very well, I don't know if Alex Ross was doing a great Peter Allen impression or a great Hugh Jackman impression. And I don't mean that as a slight, because Hugh Jackman was phenomenal in The Boy from Oz.
Yeah.
And Alex you didn't see
I didn't see
Hugh
New
Jackman,
York.
so
no, I didn't. I just was charmed from the moment he started on stage until he left. He charmed me. He had me in his eyes. He had me in the palm of his hand. He could do with me what he wants. It is Uptown Players.
It's very true.
But
we all get a little gayer when we come to Uptown Players.
I think so.
You can't help it. You cannot help it.
But no, I just had a lovely. Always support the arts,
right?
And I love supporting theater because it's one of the few things you can do with a group of people and all have a shared experience. Outside of the Super Bowl commercials, you really can't have an experience with somebody in our society. That's why I love the theater, and so see theater. There's plenty going on. It's amazing. So much.
There were 4 shows I think that opened tonight.
No.
That's just the ones I can think of off the top of my head that opened on the same night.
This was 2.5 hours of just having fun, listening to tunes I don't know, I do know, I sort of know, but just knowing somebody more fully and then learning something about.
These are not my favorite songs.
That's what I was going to say.
These are not my favorite songs. Some of them, I don't know. It's weird, but it's the catalog of his songs, and there are people who really love his music. I mean, he has a dedicated, and the place was packed tonight.
Oh yeah, full house.
What were you going to say?
Can we say, for being a catalog of possibly weak songs or songs of a certain time period that are kind of old and dated now, the performance of these songs, the meaning behind the songs that we saw, the actors embodying these lyrics and notes, made it an enjoyable experience. Yeah. And you leave tapping your toes and humming the last song for an hour afterward.
If there is a criticism of Janelle as Judy Garland and Sarah as Liza Minnelli, the criticism would be that at times they sang better than either of those performers. And that's the truth.
No. Sometimes when Sarah would start a song, she would start it very clean and just, she'd get into it. But sometimes, you're right, almost too pretty.
There's a final note in one of Judy Garland's songs that just, it was just amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It was incredible. And the audience, of course, full of gay men with love for Judy Garland, just went nuts.
Yes.
I was enjoying I do impressions, I do accents and stuff like that. And so I love watching performances that are impressions of sorts that, the famous people.
Yeah.
That are famous. No, I'm trying not to say caricatures.
Yeah.
But they are where you have to embody someone that's very well known. And I was really impressed watching these 3 people perform that kind of
fine line between
and the thing is, I wasn't bothered that they sang too well, because it sounded beautiful, beautiful, and you don't want to crack because maybe they cracked, you don't, because then most of an audience isn't going to realize that you're not hitting a note
because that's what she would have done,
exactly,
or he would. Yeah, exactly.
Because this is, like I said, latter day Judy Garland. She was not in her prime. She could still
wail.
Yeah, and that's the thing. And one of the biggest not messages, but lessons in this show is that sometimes it's not about being the best singer. It's about engaging an audience. And that's what especially Alex did in the show. And early on, Judy criticizes him, saying, "You are not a... You're
too green."
Yeah, you're too green. And boy, by the Peter that we were getting was not green as far as the performance,
right?
The present day performance, so to speak, that we were getting was just, I mean,
engaging.
Like you said, had palm of the audience, total audience, palm of his hand. One thing I did want to say is Uptown has wowed me in the past with some of their scenic elements. Producers was just tremendous. And again, I hate saying this, but it does give a perspective. I saw the producers several times in New York. And their production, Uptown's production of the producers, looked every bit as lavish, every bit as expensive, every bit as eye-popping as the Broadway production. This didn't quite wow me. I think what it did do was something you mentioned earlier, was make it more intimate. But this is all supposed to be gaudy.
1978.
1978. You know, you heard the wow, wow, wow in the music. So it's supposed to be that gaudy, over-the-top performance spaces with all kinds of crazy
gold leaf
scenery. Yeah, exactly. And Rodney Dobbs did the set for the producers and did the set for the show tonight. And it was just very strange that it just didn't have the sparkle, I guess, that I felt that it needed. Can't say the same thing for the costumes and the wigs. Just fantastic. Coy Covington as the wig coordinator, or whatever, the wig designer.
He can make me pretty anytime he wants. That is
exactly.
It was amazing, and that's a reason enough just for the spectacle of seeing what these people are.
Yeah.
And aside from the three characters that we've already mentioned, who are terrific, Peter Allen's mother is Jody. I don't know the answer.
Yes.
Please delete this out.
See?
Anyway, Peter Allen's mother in the show, fantastic. Peter Allen's male companion in the show, fantastic. Just
Jody Wright.
Jody Wright
played Marion.
Oh my gosh! And Kyle Montgomery, I'm sure it was Greg. I mean, top to bottom, the cast was phenomenal. They should all be completely proud of this wonderful thing. Whitney, the dance captain, was just amazing.
Weston Brown, who plays young Peter Allen.
That's where I was going to...
The little kid. Adorable kid. Can tap like nobody's business. And...
embodied what he needed to. Yeah. Just... Good on you, buddy.
Very, very nice work.
I'm going to break your leg so you don't take all of my roles when you grow up. But in the meantime, good on you.
Well, and good. You made a very good point about the rest of the cast. The rest of the cast is phenomenal. I mean, as a matter of fact, there's an embarrassment of riches in this show.
Yes.
That, certain people who are phenomenal, who were really backup singers for most of the show. And you turned to me during the, what was that number? The crazy number towards the beginning, when the bandstand, the Australian version of the bandstand. Oh my gosh.
There was an Australian bandstand number that I chuckled and giggled and peed myself through. It was
hilarious. Love Crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It was very funny with the camera moving around the stage and the performers having to adjust where they are on the stage. So cheesing.
I need to say, as a caveat.
God,
Laura, I'm going to... I don't typically like musicals. I'm going to say that. I find them cheesy and weird. I do them because they pay better, but I don't enjoy myself in a musical. And I know this is sort of a song cycle, and it's sort of, we're following his life. It's a not a biography.
Biomusical.
Biomusical? That's
sure, why not?
A biomuse.
It's a bicycle.
I was entertained. Were you entertained? I was entertained.
I was entertained.
As a person who doesn't like this sort of thing, and yeah.
Well, I accept your thought. However, this is one of the cheesiest musicals
It is
possible.
I mean,
so
it's only a step above
weird.
Legally Blonde, the musical.
It's not. I don't know.
No, but no, everyone is so earnest and honest, and
in good musicals, they're supposed to be. I mean, if you're seeing Why I'm Crazy for You, if you're seeing, one of those old, even Thoroughly Modern Millie, most of Thoroughly Modern Millie is dancing and jazz hands.
Right.
If you're seeing one of those, maybe, but...
I'm just saying, as somebody who, I don't typically like this, I do, I enjoyed myself. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I hate it that in Les Miserables, none of the characters are earnest.
We should not talk about a different production.
I'm just saying that a well-done musical is not supposed to be that yuckity cheesy unless it's one of those old jazz age.
Okay, but he is cheesing to the audience the whole time. He is explaining.
Yeah.
I mean, he is right there.
And the music, the songs are cheesy.
Oh yeah, and it's wonderful.
You did watch I Go to Rio, right?
Oh my gosh, and I loved it.
I mean, that was way over the top.
I actually asked him. I was like, "Where's Rio? I can't. We can't."
We can't leave.
Peter Allen can't die, and then there'd be no Rio. I only know 2 songs of Peter Allen, and one of them has not been performed yet. Whereas I'm staying here until that happens.
Well,
and then it happened.
Yes, it did. It certainly did.
It did.
Apparently, heaven is Rio. When you die, you go to heaven. Everyone's wearing white, and you get this really cool. I
hope that's true.
Number.
Rio is a
absolutely.
great place.
Rio would be nice, wouldn't it?
Oh yeah.
We both said at the exact same time.
We win at life.
Anything else you need to say?
Uptown Players. They're about to do their Pride Festival.
Yes, they are.
Which
annual Pride Festival? This is like the fourth time.
Yeah.
Fourth or fifth?
I don't know.
Probably says somewhere in this program.
Let's say fourth. Oh yeah, we should
find it.
Anyway, I've had the honor of reading a couple of the scripts, and I know that they're LGBT plays and whatnot, but they are really also they're earnest plays that I really would like to see. So if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to plug their season or their Pride Festival is coming up in the middle of September.
I did my show at one of the Pride Festivals.
You did?
Why Am I Not Gay? My one-man show. It's true. Why Am I Not Gay?
I need to see this.
Yeah, you do. I need to do it again. So there's a plug for my own cabaret.
Good job.
Actually, it doesn't say in here what year this is, but one thing I want to say, the last session, there's a concert version of the last session, which is a really great musical that Uptown Players did years ago that they're bringing back as part of the Pride Festival.
Oh, nice.
And that's going to have Peter de Cesare, which I always say his name. De Cesare. I love him dearly, but I cannot say his name. Gary Lynn Floyd, Denise Lee, and Sarah Shelby Martin. All hacks. None of them talented. None of them. And the other really amazing thing is that on the opening night of the Pride Festival, September 12th, there is an evening with best-selling author and sex advice columnist Dan Savage. And if you've ever seen Dan Savage, he's on Bill Maher all the time. And he used to have a column called Savage Love. And he's really funny. He's very political and yet politically astute.
Okay.
And he is going to be doing Savage Love live for part of to open the Pride Festival.
Oh, that's great.
Phenomenal. And I highly recommend people see that because it's going to be interesting. But there are many other shows. One is by local playwright, director, costume designer, scenic painter, everything Bruce R. Coleman. And that's Mythical Beastie. From White Plains by Michael Perlman, commencing by Jane Shepard, Falling Man by Will Sheffer, and Dysfunctional Divas, written by and starring Stephen J. Crabtree, which sounds like that's going to be fun.
Yes.
So that's the Pride Festival between September 12th and the 20th of this year. And you have until August 10th. To see Boy from Oz. And again,
Alex Ross.
The performances make the show.
Yeah.
If it weren't for the performances, this show would be a puzzlement.
Wouldn't that be every show?
Well, yes, but there are certain shows that are a mediocre Noises Off is going to be better than other shows because it's a good show, well-made show. This show is not the best-made show, but the performances really elevate the material.
Okay,
that's what I think. All right.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff,
thanks for having me. My first time.
Thanks for being here. I know that you're a loyal Kanesidder This listener and have listened to every single podcast that we have done.
Nearly.
I really hate you. I hate you because you forget that I do a podcast. And
no, I don't forget. I'm sorry that I haven't done it before. It's just I've been too busy working. In the theater, it's very difficult.
Well, it was great having you, and
it was great to be
being here.
And thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it. And
cue music.
Yeah, cue music.